Welcome to Combat Sports Talk. This is a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. My name is Ryan Smith, and we are here at Austin Avenue watching UFC 230, Cormier versus Derek Brunson. And I am joined by the double champ, George G-money Stallworth. How are you, sir?
Doing lovely, folks. How's everybody doing out there in the podcast world?
Awesome, awesome. So we did, for the very first time, a live stream from Austin Avenue on Facebook. That was pretty awesome.
What'd you think?
You know what? I think it was great. We're going to get it promoted a little bit more, and then once we do some more of these, I think that we'll start building up that fan base and people will start joining us.
I was surprised how fast 20 minutes went by.
Oh, yeah.
I just felt like we started talking, and next thing I know, it's 20 minutes deep.
Yeah, and so we covered a lot of stuff, got a lot of reactions, and we have a lot of friends here with us at the at the restaurant. So, you know, what we'll do is we'll start trying to make it more interactive, get some people talking about who they think is going to win, disagreeing with you, and being right. I mean, that's what we really are here to do.
Disagreeing with me and being right. I like it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens at the end of the night, though.
Okay. All right. So let's go through. Right now, they're setting up the first fight of the night. That's Israel Adesanya versus Derek Brunson. They don't like each other.
No, they don't. In fact, I was going to say there's been plenty of footage of Derek and Israel sitting at the bar across from each other talking mad trash.
Yeah, and so it was really interesting as they were going through the weigh-ins and the face-off. Israel Adesanya pantomimed as though he had a gun in his hand,
yes,
and he was going to shoot Derek Brunson. Do you think that shows crack in the armor?
No, not at all. Israel's a very, flamboyant, creative fighter. I don't think that's what that was at all. In fact, I think that tends more to get in Derek Brunson's head.
Okay. All right. Well, he is a pretty large favorite from Vegas odds. When it comes to combat sports talk, everybody, you, me, KC, and John all picked Israel Adesanya to win tonight.
One fight we all agreed on.
The only fight we all agreed on.
Yeah.
So
I think that speaks volumes.
Yes.
But he is fighting a very game opponent in Derek Brunson. Do not sleep on Brunson. As much noise as Israel is talking about him, Brunson is a sophisticated, I wouldn't say sophisticated, he's a decorated fighter. He's got some notable wins under his belt.
Yes, both in the UFC and outside of the UFC. His kickboxing record that they're showing right now is 75-4.
Oh, you're talking about Israel now?
Yes. I'm talking about Israel Adesanya. I'm sorry. You're talking about Derek Brunson.
Well, speaking of Israel has, if you really go back and look at his history, this man has over 100 fights under his belt.
That's crazy.
Between kickboxing, boxing, and MMA. He stepped in all three arenas.
Well, I think that's why he is the big favorite tonight. So let's go through. We've already made our picks, but we'll go through and announce the picks on the air. I've got Israel Adesanya. I think he's going to win this fight. Second round knockout.
I've got Adesanya as well. I think this was going to go to a decision. This fight is going to look a lot like the Derek Brunson-Anderson Silva fight, I think, where it's going to be some close interaction, a lot of tight, heated exchanges. But I think Israel's going to pull it out by a unanimous decision in the end.
Okay. Do you think he's going to look dominant, or do you think this is going to be a close one?
I honestly think he will look dominant. Derek will make this look a little bit closer than it was just because of the wrestling, I think.
Yeah.
But the striking, unbelievable striking is about to take place in these next 3 rounds.
All right. Well, I am excited to see it. We've got we've got the fighters coming into the ring. What we're going to do is we're going to watch this fight, and then we'll come back with our live reactions after that. All right, we are back, and
it's real quiet in here.
It's real quiet now.
So apparently there are storms taking place outside. I look out to my left, and I can actually see the storms taking place. And as a result, here at Austin Avenue, we've lost signal on the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. So we actually missed the actual sequence of the fights, but we did see a little bit of the replay.
We saw the replay.
Looks like Adesanya night-nighted Derek Brunson.
I mean, he didn't night-night him once. He night-nighted him twice, maybe even 3 times.
In the first round?
In the first round.
Wow. Impressive.
Takedown
defense was on point.
On point.
Striking was phenomenal, like we've always said.
Absolutely. And the thing is that we were talking about the fact that as Derek Brunson kept shooting in, kept trying to score that takedown, he was leaving his head wide open for a knee.
Adesanya told him beforehand. He's like, dude, don't rush me. I'm going to catch you. You walk in with your chin up every time. Mm-hmm. He told him this.
And what did he do?
Night.
No,
I don't think so.
So there we go. We have a successful 15-0 now for Israel Adesanya. Derek Brunson has been thwarted. That's the biggest test to date. We got to start thinking about where's he going to go from here.
I honestly hope the UFC will slow walk his progression to a title fight, honestly.
So
because, I mean, the tier of fighter he's up against next are going to be the Weidmans, the Jacares, the David Branches.
Yoel Romero.
Right. And so, honestly, I'd like to see him get a little bit more experience. Not that he doesn't. I mean, this man has over 100 fights.
Yeah, but at the same he has over 100 fights. But the question is, do you want to keep risking that zero? I mean, it's a bigger fight whenever he's fighting Robert Whittaker or Kevin Gastelum, whoever wins that fight, and he's coming in there 15-0. That's like John Jones level stuff.
MMA losses are not the same as in boxing or kickboxing in that sense.
Yeah,
it's okay to have a loss or two in MMA. That doesn't necessarily diminish your caliber as a fighter. This is a multifaceted sport.
Yeah.
You got wrestling, you got boxing, you got kickboxing, you got Muay Thai, you've got jiu-jitsu, you got sambo. There's so many different avenues you could take a loss in.
Yep.
And you can't be a master in everything. You can dibble, you can dabble, you can be great at a few things, but somebody's going to be better than you at something.
Right, but this is still a business. And that's the thing, is that a fighter who is 15-0, who can show highlight reel knockouts, and this one right here with Derek Brunson is a highlight reel.
Absolutely.
It makes for a bigger fight that people want to see when there is a zero on the line.
Like I said, I think maybe your casual fan feels that way with the zero on the line, but Conor McGregor is a perfect example. He is the most prolific pay-per-view attraction out there.
Absolutely.
He's got losses.
He's got losses, but the thing is that his first title fight, he fought a bunch of tomato cans. The best fighter he fought was Dustin Poirier. No, he fought Max when Max first got into the
right.
UFC. Max was not the fighter that he is today.
I think Max was the best fighter he fought up until that time.
No, Dustin Poirier.
Okay.
I think Dustin Poirier was the best fighter he fought, and he won that fight. And I would say he won that fight by it was a clean strike, but he was throwing his punch. He was throwing a hook as Poirier came down and ducked it. And he caught his elbow in the back of the head.
Right.
And that's what took him down. So that was the best fighter he fought until he fought Jose Aldo. There was a lot of hype. Conor was undefeated up to Jose Aldo. He could have fought at that time. There were a lot of better fighters he could have fought. I mean, Ricardo Lamas was out there. You had Chad
Mendez.
He did fight Chad Mendez.
Eventually, but
not for the – yeah. You know what? We know the history.
Saying.
So when you start thinking about all the fighters he passed up that were actually legitimate tests for Conor, there's a profit motive to make sure that Conor did not face a fighter that could potentially derail his unbeaten streak. And I think that UFC and Dana White have that same pressure. I don't disagree with you that we should give him some more people to fight, but at the same time, you want to see Adesanya walk in there with an undefeated streak to fight the champ.
I would really like him to have an opportunity to get well acquainted in that weight division with some guys before he really faces some of the top tier guys.
Right.
It's great what he did with Bronson tonight. I want to go back and get a better look at it so I can really look at some of the intricacies of what took place. But I really hope they don't immediately toss him into a title fight contention as a result of this.
All right. Well, we will see what's going to happen after this. You know they're going to ask Dana White what's next for him. You know, and I'm sure that they asked him who he's calling out.
He says he wants a title fight.
Well, I think they're going to end up giving it to him.
But 2 fights ago, he was like, "Hey, I want to take my time and walk through this."
Well, famous last words, right? I mean, Darren Till was like, "Hey, I don't think I deserve a title shot," and then next thing you know, he had an opportunity for a title shot, and he's like, "I'll take it."
Derek Lewis. He said, "Hey, I don't deserve a title shot after the way I looked." And then not even 4 weeks later, he is fighting for the heavyweight championship, also known as the baddest man on the planet belt.
Right. You mean the Daniel Cormier belt?
The Daniel Cormier belt.
Oh, okay.
I will give you that.
He is the baddest man on the planet, at least at this time. So let's go ahead and wrap this up, and let's start looking at the next fight on the card. You know, what we're looking at here is we've got the Roberson Marshman fight. Now, we were talking about this one. You know, you were feeling that Marshman is potentially the better caliber fighter in this matchup.
Yeah. Marshman's got 22 plus fights, if I'm not mistaken, closer to 30. I think he's like 22-7. He's got a loss of notable recognition to Thiago Santos.
A
lot of people have
the
losses
Hammer.
to him.
A lot of people have losses to him.
Marshman is also known as the Hammer.
Well, okay, I remember that fight. It was the Hammer versus the Hammer. Guess who won? The Hammer.
I like that. But the other thing about Marshman is he's won multiple belts in all of the organizations he's fought in other than the UFC so far. So this is not, this guy, he's got some pizzazz behind him. He's fighting Carl Roberson. Roberson, I don't know much about. I know he's had a few kickboxing matches.
Right.
I can't think of anybody of note that he's fought, though. So I'm going to be real interested to see that.
Yeah.
I do know somebody notable he's fought, but it was a kickboxing match.
Right.
Dustin Jacoby.
Oh, I remember that fight. Okay, so it looks like the storms have passed through. We've got some sound now.
Yeah.
And we're looking at highlights of the fighters that were getting ready to walk into the ring.
There's Marshman right now walking in with that flag. I think he's of Welsh origin.
He is Welsh, yes.
Maggie and I were talking about him last night because of the flag with the dragon on it.
That's right. That is the Welsh flag.
That's what it was.
Baby K.
Baby
Here we
K.
go.
So, also, I think the other reason that Roberson made it to the UFC is off of the Contender Series.
Right.
He had a knockout in the Contender Series.
That's really interesting because we're starting to see some more of these fighters that are starting to come in from the Contender Series.
Absolutely.
And I think they're making an impact like the fighters from the Ultimate Fighter did when that first started. I mean, I know that it's gotten long in the tooth, that franchise, but the Tuesday Night Contender Series is starting to produce some potential stars with a lot of potential.
I think the Contender Series is a great farm league to push guys into the UFC.
Yeah.
We get a good look at them beforehand. They get a chance to fight other caliber fighters that are all looking for it. So it's a win-win for everybody.
So this is going to be good. And we just saw right there, that's his Contender Series win. We're going to see. So let's go ahead as the fighters begin to make their way into the ring. Let's go ahead and make our picks.
My pick is Marshman. I think his experience is going to overpower Roberson.
Well, you know what? I'm going with the dynamic striker and the younger fighter. He's got a lot of energy. I'm going to go with Roberson. Baby K for the kill.
Okay, all right.
For the KO.
I like it.
You don't like it because that's going to be the first one you got wrong.
We shall see.
We shall see. I'm planning on going 5-0 tonight.
I did get something wrong. I thought Adesanya and Brunson would make it a full 3 rounds. That was a knockout in the first round.
Yeah, I called a knockout in the second, but it happened a little bit faster than I thought it was going to be. So, I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. I think this fight's going to go fast too. I'm going with Baby K with a submission finish.
Wow.
Submission finish
Striker
in the
with a submission.
Striker with a submission finish. I like that second round still. I'm looking for a second round finish.
Okay. All right. I'm looking at Marshman. I'm thinking 3 rounds. They put in work. It goes to a decision.
Marshman. All right. Here we go.
Although Marshman does have, multiple first round finishes.
This could happen.
I wouldn't be surprised.
10 first round finishes.
Hell, did it? Yeah.
He's got some power. We'll see.
He's got a little experience too. Man. You can't discount that, man, in a fighter.
All right. Well, this is what we're going to do. Fighters are walking into the ring. What we're going to do, we're going to watch this fight. We're going to come back after these results. All right, we are back with the results of the Roberson Marshman fight. Carl Roberson wins the fight by unanimous decision. There were 2 refs that gave him a 10-8 round.
That was an amazing display of striking.
It was.
Part,
it
man.
was.
Like, I'm eating crow all day on that one. I picked Marshman. Marshman looked slow, sluggish, overweight, everything else. Roberson came out and put on a show.
Now, they were talking about the fact that his lead leg suffered an injury during the fight.
Yeah, he's right. He fought southpaw, so
Yeah, his right leg.
I was wondering why he didn't throw more kicks, especially being that type of kickboxing striker.
Right.
But that's probably the reason why. He said he injured it in wrestling.
Yeah. Injured it in wrestling, and then it aggravated whenever he got the leg kick from Marshman.
So many fighters come into the octagon already damaged, hurt,
Yeah.
little injuries, and they never tell you. And, you may or may not hear about them even after the fight.
Yeah. So right now we're looking at some highlights, a preview of the Holloway T-City fight that was supposed to happen. What was supposed to happen
A month ago?
Yeah, I think they replaced it with the Cyborg fight.
Right.
So we're going to see that in early December. So, how are you feeling about that? Brian T-City Ortega versus Max Holloway.
I don't know, man. I hadn't seen enough of Brian striking. I know the Frankie Edgar fight was one thing. I think it's going to be a good fight. I don't know.
You don't have to make a pick tonight. No worries.
I'm not looking for a pick necessarily, but Max is damaged, man. I mean, he's had at least 2 fights he's had to pull out of now for different reasons, and most of them have been somewhat related to weight cuts.
Well,
they stopped the weight cut on one, and the other one, he had a seizure.
But let's be clear about the first one. That was the one against Habib. He came in there
at 190.
190 trying to make 155. That's just
It makes 145 on the regular.
Yes, but he tried to make 155. Yeah, if you try to make 155 in
like 2 weeks.
No, less than that. 6 days. Crazy. So
back to that conversation earlier about why we need to get hydration tests that one FC is doing over in the UFC.
Right.
To stop stuff like that. I mean, this man is putting his life on the line, literally, every time he steps in to try to make weight.
Right.
Not for the fight, just to make weight.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is that whenever you think about it, it's so vital that these fighters make the weight because these are championship fighters. You can't have a championship if you're not on the dot 145, 155.
There's no 145.5 belt.
No.
145 or bust.
So if you're having to put your life on the line just so that you can defend the belt or just so you can just move up to 155. If you're a great fighter, you should be able to fight at the weight that you're supposed to be.
Pride is a horrible thing.
It is. Because there's fighters who are mediocre fighter at their right weight.
So I heard Dana
great fighters at the lightweight.
That they were going to have a backup in place in case Max doesn't show.
They should. They should do that for every single title fight. There should always be a man in the wings. They should declare it at the day of signing of the contract so that both fighters know that, yes, this is your opponent, but if any reason this guy can't show up, then you better be training or at least looking at some film for the other guy.
As well.
Because I was concerned that when the Darren Till fight was happening, because Darren Till misses weight on the regular, that Tyron Woodley said he wasn't going to fight Kamaru Usman, who was the man in the wings. You got to be ready. Anytime, anywhere, anybody.
Well, that's how you see a lot of these fighters step up, though. These last-minute fights. Speaking of last-minute fights.
We're getting ready to watch one, right?
We're about to watch one. David Branch was set to fight Chris Weidman.
Right.
Weidman got bumped up as a result.
Cannonier.
Now David Branch is fighting Jared Cannonier.
Right. And that's, I got David Branch in this fight, but that's a dangerous fight for him.
Absolutely.
I really like Derek Branch. He had a bad outing versus Rockhold. Then he came back and won his next fight. But this is a challenge for him.
Well, like I said, Jared Cannonier, he's a guy originally from Dallas, fights out of Alaska.
Bears.
I just want you to recognize what's going on. This
Bears.
man lives in Alaska. Frontier type territory.
24 hours of nighttime.
Yes.
Yeah. Polar bears. Grizzly bears.
But David Branch is another very underrated fighter.
He is.
David's held titles in like 3 different organizations.
Yep.
No, 2. But he's fought in multiple. He's fought for Bellator.
Yes.
He's fought for the UFC. This is his second stint at the UFC.
Right, and he's looking a lot better.
And he's also he was a two-division belt holder for WSOF. He held the middleweight belt and the light heavyweight belt and defended both those belts.
There you have it.
So this is not some slouch. This is not some couch potato.
Yeah. And that's why I'm going with David Branch tonight. So he's coming in as a favorite. Maybe it's because Cannonier's coming in as a late fight replacement. Usually late fight replacements don't fare well. I like Branch.
I'm interested to know who you would have picked in Branch versus Weidman.
I probably would have picked Weidman.
Okay.
I've been on the Weidman hype train I'm the only guy on the Weidman hype train, but I still think Weidman I still think he's got the juice, and so we're gonna see tonight when he fights Jacare. But I would have had him versus David Branch, but now the David Branch is fighting Cannonier.
I think the Weidman Jacare fight. I'm sorry, the Weidman David Branch fight is going to look a lot like the Weidman Jacare fight, I think. So David Branch is a high-level black belt. I think it's black belts under Renzo Gracie.
Yep.
David is not for the meek of heart. This is a real test for anybody stepping in. I think he just recently had a loss to Luke Rockhold.
He did. And the thing is, Luke Rockhold just overwhelmed him. It was just a really bad outing, but he's come back and we're seeing the takedowns that he's able to do. That's when he took out Thiago Santos.
Yes.
So that was his last fight. It was against Santos.
A little bit off topic here. I mentioned this earlier to you. Have you ever seen the movie Jungle Fever?
Yes.
Do you remember Gator in Jungle Fever?
I don't remember Gator in Jungle Fever, but I've
Samuel
seen it.
Jackson.
Okay.
What do you think about David and Gator's resemblance?
You know what? I'm gonna have to pull that picture up so I can see, because I don't remember Gator in Jungle Fever, but I'm gonna look right now.
Jared Cannonier is on his way into the ring, fighting out of Alaska by way of Dallas, also known as the Killer Gorilla.
Yeah, you know what? It's that scraggly beard. I'm looking at him now.
You do see it?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
It's that scraggly beard he got. You're right. He's right. Yeah.
Every time I see David, all I can think is, I'm a crackhead, mama. I smoked the TV.
Well, Cannonier is coming out. He is way hyped. Oh, look, he's with Benson Henderson.
Wow.
Wow, that's a blast from the past, UFC style.
So I wonder what camp Cannonier's out of if he's got Benson Henderson in his corner.
So Benson Henderson trains in Arizona.
Right, he trains out of the lab, I think.
The lab.
He still fights. Benson is over at Bellator.
He's over at Bellator. Benson just fought a couple of weeks ago. They do. The question was does Bellator pay more? Yes, they do.
Maybe it's not just that Bellator pays more. At Bellator, you're allowed to have your sponsors. You're allowed to, and so that makes you a lot more.
Fighters make more money.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Cannonier is entering the ring in a very funny way, like he just urinated on the side of the ring.
He's marking his territory.
He's marking his territory, ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm already thinking, when a fighter is coming in there with all these antics, that is a sign of crack in the armor.
I don't disagree necessarily.
Look at David Branch. This is strictly business.
So, like I said, Branch, high-level black belt out of Renzo Gracie. Branch actually, Derek Brunson is a purple belt under Branch. Little known fact.
Did not know that.
Did you know that Derek Brunson, I don't know why I'm talking about Brunson now, fights out of Jackson's?
What?
Yes, surprisingly enough.
Well, clearly Jackson's is starting to go down.
No, he fought Israel Adesanya. It had nothing to do with Jackson's.
All right. So let's go ahead and make your picks. I got Derek Branch in this fight. I think Derek Branch is gonna knock him out. I think it's gonna be a first-round finish.
I've got David Branch as well. I think it'll be by submission, possibly second round.
All right. And did I call him David Branch or Derek Branch?
I heard Derek.
Okay,
We were speaking about Derek Brunson and probably got a little confused.
I'm going to tell you like this. I have called David Branch David Branch. David Branch by knockout, round number 1.
Also known now as Gator from Jungle Fever. We'll be back after these results. All right, we are back from the fights. It looked like we got this one wrong. David Branch came out and laid an egg. Jared Cannonier was amazing tonight. I don't even know what to say. I'm shocked on that one.
Me too.
Again, this goes to show why it's dangerous for fighters to take fights on short notice. Cannonier was already prepping for a fight, I think, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it was a win-win for him.
Right.
On top of that, he beat a highly ranked guy. He beat a guy 7. In the top 10.
Yes. So man, he came out looking great. I mean, he stuffed most of the takedowns. He actually stuffed all the takedowns, and we were talking about David Branch is a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. So stuffing takedowns.
Surprised that David didn't rely more on the jits, because if I remember, there was a time or two when
he couldn't get him down.
There was some ground and pound on Jared's part. Jared had him down and was grounded for a sec.
Right.
So I'm really surprised we didn't see more of David's jiu-jitsu. Number 2, I'm really surprised at the outcome of that fight.
Right. So
Cannonier definitely got a bump up in that, and I don't know, man. He's another one to keep an eye on. I've heard of him a time or two.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's a Dallas native. He's out of Anchorage, Alaska, but apparently he's also training over in New Mexico at
Jackson,
the lab.
The lab. Oh, the lab. Yeah, that's right, because that's where – not New Mexico, Arizona.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the lab. Scottsdale. That's where, Benson Henderson walked out with him. So, big ups to Cannonier.
Cannonier.
And, we'll put him on the show. Definitely look at the hype train. You going to get on that hype train?
I can't say I'm on that hype train just yet. This is the second time I've really, seen one of his fights. He looked impressive, don't get me wrong, but not as impressive as Carl Roberson looked earlier.
Most def. All right, so now we're looking at is this the co-main event of the evening?
This is the co-main event of the evening.
Jacare Souza is coming to the ring. He's facing off against the All-American Chris Weidman.
Also known as Ronaldo. Spelled with an R.
Yeah, Ronaldo, because he's from Brazil. I prefer the Jacare.
I like either.
It's more fun to say.
Also known as Gator. This is
another Gator. You got Gator, and first Gator got knocked out. Second Gator gonna get knocked out too.
What? You think so, huh?
He gonna get stopped. He gonna lose. I can't say he gonna get knocked out.
Wyman does have a history of being able to deal with jiu-jitsu guys.
Yeah.
Which Jacare is. I've seen Wyman actually in like some high-level jiu-jitsu / grappling competitions.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do too bad.
But,
his background is wrestling. So.
Yeah, and so Chris Weidman trains with Ray Longo and Matt Serra.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a great camp. I'm confident that Weidman is going to win this fight.
Really?
I'm going to go with decision for Weidman.
I just want to remind you, Weidman has not fought in 15 months.
And?
His last win was Kevin Gastelum.
And?
Before that, he was on a 3-fight skid. Before that, all 3 of his fights before that, technically what we will look at now are old men fights. Vitor Belfort, Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida. This does not look well necessarily. Now, I must say, I also think Weidman is looking the best he's ever looked. When I look at his body right now, compared to Weidman we've seen in the past, right. Weidman is really, really in shape for this fight. So, we'll see what happens. But,
all right.
My money on this fight is Jacare.
Okay, well, how do you see the fight going?
Jacare by submission, second round.
Second round submission. I got Weidman by decision. We are going to watch this fight and be back with the results.
Let's do it.
And the results are in. Jacare Souza wins the fight in the third round by devastating knockout.
Ultimately devastating, man. Like that is reminiscent of the Luke Rocco knockout of Weidman.
Yeah.
those are the kind of knockouts that change your life, man.
It was one of those things where, I mean, it was like the tree falling in the forest, man. 1 minute you're standing, the next minute you're on your back looking up at the lights asking what happened.
What's amazing in this fight was Weidman had every opportunity to do something totally different, and he would not change. I don't know if his corners told him anything different in there or not, but whatever the strategy was, I don't agree with what they were doing.
I am incensed. You should have heard me during this fight, because first round, Weidman looked great. Second round, really broke Jacare Souza's nose. I mean, he had the fight in hand. All he had to do was survive the third round, and he's still in there trying to grab for a Muay Thai knee. He's still in there when Souza's clearly pushing forward to try to knock Weidman out. You stay on the outside, you throw your jabs, and you disengage to win the fight.
Weidman was pot-shotting him from the outside and doing well with that.
Yes.
The one thing I did see on Weidman was that he would throw this jab and he would lean off to his right. I thought he was prime suspect for an uppercut. Matter of fact, Jacare's corner even told him that in between the rounds, but we never saw that uppercut come from Jacare.
So, Jacare was throwing that same overhand the whole night. He ended up landing it in the third round, and that's what put him out, landed it right on the temple. But I just get frustrated when fighters are clearly in the lead. They've got something that's working from a jab. He's throwing that jab, cross, the jab, cross. The whole night it was working. Why would you go in there and brawl with somebody who's got knockout power like that?
So, and that's exactly what happened. I think in the second round, midway through, Jacare kept clinching up and dirty boxing with him, and then launching his left knee, his lead knee, and I don't know, it just changed the tempo of the fight.
Right, and he came out like that in the second round. Weidman was able to weather the storm. I believe that Weidman won the second round as well, and then third round, he's coming out
with this overhand right.
With the overhand right, he's been doing it all night. You haven't had much success with the dirty boxing. You've just been literally dodging bullets. I guess you got to fault the corner for not saying, hey, stay out of his range. Stay on the jab.
What's working. So, that's a topic of conversation I would love for you to approach during the regular podcast about fighters who do and don't listen to their corners in between rounds. Because we've seen several examples of it tonight. You've seen, I can't think of them right offhand, but there were some clear-cut examples where they were told certain things in between the rounds, and then they would go back out, and that's not what the fighter would do. Jacare, for example, was told, throw the uppercut. Throw the rear uppercut. I never saw it.
Kept throwing that overhand right. But what do you say? What do you say when your corner tells you to do something, you don't do it, and then you have a devastating knockout like that?
I mean,
it worked.
What he did worked, but if he had thrown that uppercut, I think he would have knocked Weidman out earlier.
Perhaps. I'm just so frustrated. I mean, Weidman put on a great fight. This is the Weidman that I grew to know and love. And to go in there and to fail to put this fight away and to stay out of danger long enough to get that W, I think that's rookie stuff. That's your first fight in the UFC kind of stuff. It's not championship stuff.
Weidman has fallen victim to the same thing he did to Anderson Silva. Weidman is facing this new crop of fighters coming into that division. Not that Jacare is one of those. So Weidman has been relegated to basically a gatekeeper.
All right. I am going to rage on this particular fight tonight. Tomorrow, Monday, on the podcast, I'm going to be raging about this. This was one that was a fight that was won. And he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. And I can't stand that, especially when it's a former champion who does it. He should have known better. That's veteran stuff.
I don't disagree.
So, all right, I'm going to let it go.
Although I did pick Gator to win this fight.
This is what bothers me, because Alexander Volkov won that fight and then got knocked out at the end of the fight. Here we are again. Chris Weidman had this fight won and then gets knocked out.
Slept.
I know I have to give you credit for picking Souza. But Souza wasn't winning that fight. If he didn't land that, he would have lost that fight by decision. By the way, that's what I call.
By what?
That's what I call. That he would lose by decision.
Weidman by decision.
But dang it if he didn't land that punch. Dang it if Weidman didn't get knocked out. And get knocked out in spectacular fashion. We're going to be seeing this for years to come for Jacare Souza.
Honestly, I saw quite a few holes in Weidman's game tonight.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think he's been relegated to the position of gatekeeper.
I don't disagree. Now at this point, because when you look at the middleweight division, you've got someone who's already beaten him in Luke Rockhold. You got someone who's just beat him in Jacare Souza. You got someone like Yoel Romero who's beaten both Jacare and Luke. And yeah. So the only person you got is the guy fighting for the title, which is Kevin Gastelum, and he's fighting for the title versus Robert Whittaker.
And I really don't feel like Kevin is a top-tier middleweight. I really don't.
Well, that remains to be seen. He's got the title shot. I think he deserves to get a title shot. He may not win, but at the same time, I think you run that back. If he loses, then you run that Weidman Gastelum fight back.
Weidman Gastelum if Gastelum loses to Whittaker.
Yes.
And then Jacare
Whittaker. Because I don't think Yoel Romero. I think Yoel Romero needs to find somewhere else to go with him missing weight like he did. I mean, he's already lost. He lost to Whittaker anyway. So I don't know where Yoel Romero goes from here.
Well, think about this particular division. There are some up and coming Thiago Santos.
Yeah.
Israel. You got some up and coming guys that are the new breed who can inject some real life into this division.
Gosh, I don't want to see Israel Adesanya fight Yoel Romero though.
Well, think about everybody who's just been put out though. I don't want to see Israel against Yoel, but Israel versus
Weidman?
Whittaker.
That's for the check. If Whittaker loses.
I'm just saying, period. I don't want that right now. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But that is a great fight to make. Australia, New Zealand. Oh, man. Come on.
Okay. I like that. I like that. But you know what? I doubted Whittaker for so long. I don't doubt him anymore. I mean, to be honest, I was that way with Weidman, too. I doubted Weidman, and then he showed me.
It on, yeah.
But now I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed. All right, let's wrap this one up. Let's go into Derek Lewis versus Daniel Cormier.
DC versus DL. Folks, I think we're going to see an upset tonight.
You know what?
This is a five.
Derek Lewis needs to come out to Love That Chicken from Popeyes. Can you believe they gave him a sponsorship?
Yes, absolutely.
All
what is he coming out to? So if you look at the gentleman behind Derek with the beard, with the mustache, that's crew Bob Perez.
Okay, tell us about him.
You remember what I was saying about, this guy, he high-level striking coach, man. This is one of those guys you want to go to for your striking.
He looks like the Iron Sheik.
This is one of those guys you want to go to for striking, man. He can level your game up. And honestly, I think that's what you see with Derek. If you notice, Derek has no takedowns. He has no jiu-jitsu. He has no wrestling. He has nothing but this right hand. And this right hand has gotten him to the number 2 title spot in the UFC. Derek will tell you, I am not a mixed martial artist.
Yes, right. He did say this.
I like to fight.
Right.
But with that, if you got someone who's teaching you how to properly throw that one hand you like to throw, you can turn out some lights. And we've seen Derek do that on multiple occasions.
I cannot dispute that. But Lord help him. Deep water. He better get this fight
I'm not done talking about what's going on here. There's some dynamics in play that I think you need to check out. DC dips off to the right every time.
Yes. It's a known entity. John Jones called him out for it and then kicked him in the head for good measure.
What has Derek Lewis been working on?
Oh, my God.
What have you seen him throw in his last 3 fights?
A left kick. A left head kick.
Why you got to say it like that?
Because it's so ridiculous. Like that. You can't tell me that is technique there.
I'm not saying
that
I
is
just told
tree
you.
trunk leg.
He
in
is
the
not
air.
a mixed martial artist at all. But he's got a high-level striking coach who can coach him through some of the things that he can do to win this fight.
All I got to say is that I have seen ridiculous things happen tonight. So it is not past the fates to make Derek Lewis the new heavyweight champion. However, if there is anything right and good in this world, there is no way that this guy is going to be able to get up off of his back when DC puts him there, and he's going to get gassed out in the second round, and then the rear naked choke comes on, and this fight is going to be over.
You are looking
round
at the
3. I'm calling
modern-day
round 3.
MMA Cinderella story right here.
Oh, my goodness.
He's got till midnight, and he turns back into a pumpkin.
That right there is hilarious.
I'm telling you the truth. Come midnight, it's a wrap. But right now, this man could be champion tonight.
Well, oh my gosh, the logic is there. You got a point. Like you got a point. Here we go, though. I believe there is no fairy godmother. The pumpkins are gone. Halloween is over. So no carriage to the ball.
I'm just saying.
This is not happening tonight. DC is the double champ and will stay the double champ and still look at him. He looks mad too.
All logic says DC wins this fight. This is logic-wise.
Yes,
this is an easy fight.
This should be
for
on
DC.
paper, but that's why they fight the fight, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
A couple of other things I don't like about it. I don't think Derek has ever been tested by a wrestler.
I don't think he has.
So we don't know how he's going to react necessarily, but he's so big, wrestling and jiu-jitsu don't tend to have the same effect on him as they would someone DC size.
I go back and I look at that fight between Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to get these guys down.
Well, those two guys are similar in size. We're looking at a guy now that's DC's shorter than 3 to 4 inches on him.
Sure.
And even though the weight's there, the mass on Derek Black Beast Lewis is so much different, and that's you're moving a different weight here.
Listen, all I got to say is this: Daniel Cormier he's fought these kind of guys.
Absolutely,
I mean,
but they've all been.
You train against Cain Velasquez.
What does he do against them, though? He strikes.
Listen. Yeah, oh my God, I'm concerned. Daniel Cormier can't even wrestle his shirt. He can't even get it off. Oh my gosh. This is a Cinderella story. I'm scared now. All right, let's go ahead. You got Black Beast. What you calling in this fight?
I say it goes deep into the fight. Black Beast catches him in the 4th or 5th round with a right hand, either uppercut or overhand right.
All right. I got 3rd round submission, rear naked choke. It's going to gas him out by the 2nd. 3rd round, he's going to look ridiculous, and then it's going to go down, take his back, and Lewis is going to get the biggest paycheck he's ever made.
I also want to tell you 2 things you're going to see in this fight. You're going to see an armbar attempt by Derek Black Beast Lewis. You're also going to see a left head kick get thrown in the 1st round by Derek Black Beast Lewis.
I agree with the second one. If he tries an arm bar,
he's going to try the arm bar.
Oh my gosh! If he tries the arm bar, I'd throw everything at him. I throw the kitchen sink.
If DC goes to wrestle him, Derek's going to look for an arm bar. And not that he's only gotten one in his life. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Derek is some jiu-jitsu specialist.
This
but
should
he will
be
attempt
academic right here. This should be clearly.
Think of the way this guy does his interviews, and he says and does things off the cuff. He says things that you would not expect him to say. He fights in a similar fashion.
All
he
right.
does things you do not expect.
DC has entered the ring. Are we gonna time the buffer factor just in case this happens where Lewis or Cormier gets finished before in less time than it takes to announce the fight? All right, here we go. We're gonna watch the fight and be back after these results.
251.
And we have the result in the second round. Daniel Cormier locks in the rear naked choke and submits the Black Beast and remains and still the heavyweight champion of the UFC world.
Not just heavyweight, double champ. Light heavyweight
Double champ.
and heavyweight. Has defended both belts now.
First man in history. So I was thankful that we saw what should have happened in the fight. This is a classic case of a champion knowing his opponent, understanding what he had to do, and then executing it. I was going into this, after this Weidman fight, just worried because we're talking about Cinderella, and then I looked at my watch and realized in New York, it's already past midnight.
Nice comeback.
It's dang
on that.
near
I like
1
that.
o'clock.
I like that.
So, yes, it was a Cinderella story all the way walking up to the ring, but the clock rang 12, and
Way too quick.
So he's a pumpkin.
Actually,
he turned
you
to
got
a
to remember,
pumpkin.
we turned the clocks back tonight.
not until 2 o'clock. If we could have made this fight last a little bit longer, maybe he could have got back 1 hour.
So, Daniel retains, defends his heavyweight, his light heavyweight, calls out Brock again. But a lot of people really think that there's an opportunity for him to catch another light heavyweight fight in there somewhere in between. I've heard John talk about it. John said he honestly doesn't want the fight.
You know, I don't think that there's motivation for either one of them to fight each other again. And to be honest, you can't go back. The electricity that we saw when the Daniel Cormier fought John Jones the first time, and then the rematch, you just can't go back. It's not going to be the same. Too much has happened since then, and I don't think it's going to be a fight that everybody says they want to see it, but I feel like we've seen that fight before, twice. So I'm glad that John Jones is saying I'm looking past that. I'm glad Daniel Cormier says that I don't need that fight for my legacy.
And he doesn't.
And he doesn't. I think we should just move on. Let him fight Brock Lesnar, which I'm not excited about that fight, but I will get excited about that fight. And John Jones fights Gustafsson, the only guy to ever threaten to beat John Jones. He came the closest. No one has come as close as Alexander Gustafsson. So I think that that's a better fight for John Jones to prove his greatness by making it, by removing doubt.
John says he trained for 2 weeks for that fight.
Really? I didn't know that. Wow.
2 weeks
Must've
might
been-
be a little bit of an exaggeration.
Must have
but
been due to those
he
coke
said
days.
he said he really did not train for that fight.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. We had Israel Adesanya looked amazing versus Derek Brunson.
I can't wait to see the future for that young man.
Absolutely. Second fight. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, where does Derek Brunson go from here now? He's one of those perennial gatekeepers, man.
Yeah. I think he looks towards the next up-and-comer and says, I dare you to beat me.
That 185 division is stacked,
It's
but it's
very
also
stacked.
kind of stuck in the mud, as Conor McGregor would say. You got a lot of guys stuck up there you got Weidman, Jacare, David Branch. Who did David fight tonight? Jared Canada now is probably in top 10. Derek Brunson, Adesanya.
You got Yoel Romero,
Whitaker,
Kelvin Gastelum.
There's just, and that one's going to have to be worked through. There's a lot of intricacies that need to be played out there.
Right.
The next fight of the night was
this
surprise.
is Robertson versus
Paul
Marshman.
Robertson and Marshman, yeah, absolutely.
I am super impressed by Robertson, man. That guy
looked great.
Looked great tonight.
I picked against him. I'm going to be reluctant to do that anymore.
Right. Another person I might be reluctant to pick against would be Jared Cannonier. Jared
is the name.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think that was a great fight for him. It was a bad fight for
David
Branch to take. Jared was 2 weeks out from a fight anyway, so he was in camp already, and he just had to peak 2 weeks earlier, and did so. He looked great. I can imagine if he had 2 more weeks to train to get ready for a fight, how much better he would look.
Yep. Then we had Weidman versus Souza.
I'm a little disappointed in the referee on that one, as well as
that was a bad
some
stoppage.
of the cornering that took place on both sides of that fight.
Yeah.
I feel like Weidman's corner could have did a better job of telling him the adjustments he needed to make in between rounds, and vice versa. Jacare's team actually told him the adjustment to make that would have ended that fight a lot sooner, and he didn't make the adjustment.
That's right.
But he did land that overhand right that he'd been throwing all night long.
All night long. And he only need one. And then finally, for the main event of the evening, DC Cormier finishes the Black Beast via rear naked choke.
I'm still ecstatically happy for Black Beast. Like I said, that is such a Cinderella story.
Yes.
If you know anything about this man, to have gone from being in prison for 3 years to becoming a world-class MMA fighter, some of the work he's done as far as the flooding down in Houston, his Instagram account. I mean, this is Derek Black Beast Lewis should be a shining example of what you can do coming from nothing.
Right.
DC is another one, though. When you really break down DC's history, a lot of people need to go back and study DC as a person.
Yeah, as a person, because he's the one that carries all the accolades. He is the Olympic wrestler. He is the Strikeforce Grand Prix champion. He is the light heavyweight champion. He is the heavyweight champion. And he does commentary. And he does all of these things. So he
even coaches high school wrestling on the regular. Like, literally, he will miss commentating jobs, UFC fights, to continue coaching his kids.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's 2 different teams that he coaches, and both of them are ranked in like the top 10 in the state.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, this was a wonderful night. I enjoyed the fights tonight, and I always enjoy bantering back and forth with you, sir.
I appreciate that. You know, a lot of the fights, we actually have the same fight picks. I'm surprised tonight we were so diametrically opposed.
Absolutely. You know what? I think it comes up to be a push, though. You know, you got that Souza fight that I wasn't expecting. You know,
well,
I got
that
that
David Branch
Robertson
fight threw both of us off.
That David Branch fight, that's a shocking one right there. We both had Adesanya, and then, I think we came as a push there.
Yeah.
So, anyway, with that, I think we sign off. All right. Well, for George G-Money Stallworth, this is Ryan Smith signing off from Austin Avenue and UFC 230. I want to remind all of you to keep your hands up, keep your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you on the next pay-per-view. Bye-bye.